All right, hello, it's Al Trucker here, and it's time for a little thing I'm going to call junk drawer science, because just about everything I needed to do this came out of the junk drawer, and maybe what I say will come out as junk. But here we go. Now, what I've set up here is, and this is very rough, but I mentioned in one of my live streams recently that I'd noticed some arguments and misunderstandings between a few of the people in what I'll call the flat Earth community and in the globe community, for lack of a better term. And it's taken me a while to come up with a solution for how to explain this, because this came from a conversation that was had between Austin Whitsitt and Professor Dave. Dave Farina does Professor Dave Explains. Austin Whitsitt does Whitsitt Gets It. Dave Farina is a fairly well-educated person in science, and Austin Whitsitt is a extremely misguided gentleman in science. Anyway, so I decided, since I'm ill and I'm at home and I'm convalescing from having this terrible lung infection, maybe what I do is try to explain to people what the problem is. And I came up with this, and I'm calling it junk drawer science, because, you know, what I did was I found a cheap old screwdriver. I had this ball. I bought this ball specifically to explain to people what goes on. And I now realize my marker is smudged. So this is the North Pole of the ball, and this is the South Pole of the ball. And by keeping North and South identified here, I have the opportunity to talk to people about Earth's axial rotation. And so I stabbed it on the South Pole, and I have these cute little guys here. These are push pins or thumbtacks, or I don't know what they call them in Australia. They probably call them thummy tackies or something like that. I'm really not sure, but maybe Mark Reed will let us know. And I have other friends in Australia. You never know who will tell us. So I'm gonna put the phone down like this and just show you that my intention is to take it with the north, and I'm gonna rotate it always with the west side going to the east. The thumbtacks I'm gonna use, which are like this, I'm going to use to represent a person making an observation from the top of a pretty tall tower, if you look at the scale of the Earth, of the southern and the northern sky. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to have a purple person represent, or purple tower. Let's call it a purple tower in the north and a turquoise tower in the south. And one interesting thing that people should see is that if I set this up here, when you're in purple tower, like you can be on the purple tower, and I can hide my entire giant melon on the southern side of the ball, because I'm, acting like this giant monster attacking a totally bare, pale white Earth, which we usually call the pale blue dot. But I'm having trouble having enough energy to spin this white ball, never mind paint it pale blue. So try to bear with me here with my planetary conversation. So as the Earth rotates in space, one of the interesting things that'll happen is that people in the northern hemisphere are going to see something else. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna show you the southern hemisphere. Actually, the sun is here. So as the Earth rotates, the sun will keep coming up in the east, and the sun and Earth they're not perfectly aligned all the time. They're on the equinox, they're perfectly aligned like this. I put a little thread on there so you can sort of see the equator. And there's the sun. Now, the sun isn't that small. The scale isn't very good, but the sun is far away. And so I've used this old umbrella to show this. The Southern Cross I've taped in here. That's a star. So that is not a dirty Kurt Vonnegut drawing. That is the Southern Cross. And then here, if we come out here, there's Polaris. Come over here, Southern Cross. So the interesting thing is, the person who's here looking at Polaris and looking to the north, and I'm gonna try to do this in a way where there's not a lot of clutter in the back. If I keep rotating my phone like this, I'm rotating my phone like this. The phone is going to the east, like this. And if I draw a circle with my finger, the way Austin Whitsitt said, going clockwise, looking at Polaris, that's what's going to happen. Now, where can I stand and see it going the other way? Well, I could flip myself around and look at, stuff in the northern sky, but the globe is going to stop me from, I can't do this and see the Southern Cross. I can't see that. That's just not going to happen, right? If I look this way and see the Southern Cross, it's because I've cut half of the earth out of my way. That doesn't happen. If you're standing on the equator, there's a chance you can see some of each. Maybe. But let's just work on looking at the earth again for a second. Okay, so here we are. If you're purple, you're in the northern hemisphere. If you're turquoise, you're in the southern hemisphere. I'm sorry, there's a bit of clutter on the thing. I'm mostly trying to just show the umbrella, which is representing, the local space that we live in. There's our sun, right? There's Polaris. And the earth is always going to rotate in this direction. The interesting thing is, if you're on the earth facing Polaris, it's going to go this way. And you're going to see, it's not changing. We're always rotating. The sun's always rising in the east. The Australian person fell off. I'm sorry to the Australian person. Now, something that's going to happen as I'm going to turn around here. Okay, the person in the south who fell off. They're looking at the Southern Cross because that's all they can see from their side, right? That's all they can see. They see the Southern Cross, right? There it is. There's the Southern Cross. The Earth is still rotating this way. There's the North Pole. It's rotating this way. Now, the Earth hasn't stopped rotating in a different direction, but it looks like it's going counterclockwise, right? So, the thing is, if I'm on the... Okay, so here we go. We have the sun. We have our Earth, our South Pole, our North Pole. And our Earth is always going to rotate like this. It's going to rotate with the east coming towards the sun. This is its axial rotation. If you're purple, like this, you can see Polaris. If you're turquoise, like this, you can't because the equator is in the way, the sphere is in the way, right? There it is. Now, I could tilt the sun or the earth out of the way and show you it, but if you're here, you don't see it. But the earth rotates always in this direction. Okay, so it's rotating with the sun rising in the east, which means the rotation of Earth is like this. Now, if you're on the southern hemisphere and you look up in the sky and you see the Southern Cross, the Earth rotates the same way, but you see the Southern Cross go this way. I'm going to try to rotate my phone and replicate this. You know, this might feel a little weird and funny, but here, so if I rotate my phone the same way, the Southern Cross, you know, which is the middle, keeps rotating this way. Now, we ask ourselves, why is this important? Well, here's why it's important. What Austin said, and Austin, I believe, lives in Florida. And even if we're talking about Austin, Texas, those are both south of me, but they're not far enough south to be south of the equator. They're not going to see the Southern Cross, and they're not going to see the sky rotate around the Southern Cross. They'll see it rotate around Polaris on a clear, starry night. This is called celestial rotation. So why am I making this video? Why am I trying to explain this? Well, what Austin said was that if you go to your window, and I don't have a window here to work with. I have windows in my house. I just don't have a good one to work with. But let's go visit my fish. I think I can explain it well by showing you my fish. And you see my reflection in there, right? Look at this. Now, here's a piece of glass. Here's my finger going around clockwise. My fish, when they come and watch me, see, here they are. Here they are. When my fish come and watch me, they see it going counterclockwise. Of course, the fish don't use clocks. I've never seen a fish wearing a wristwatch. And I do expect people to send me memes of a fish checking their wristwatch. But fish typically don't wear watches that tell time. But they would see the opposite thing. The thing is, on a globe, this globe here, this purple person here, who is, you know, let me show you here again. They're rotating like this. So is the turquoise person. They see different celestial rotations around different center points in the sky. That's Polaris there. I hope that people understand that. Now, here's the thing. What you could do is fly up out into space, and you could be on the ball and watch it going in a different direction. You could see the stars as we look up into the sky and see those stars going counterclockwise. If you were to go really far out in space, like, I'll try to hobble myself over. I don't walk very fast. I'm going to grab my cane, because if I fall over in a video, everyone will be mad at me, like the people in my family. But I'm going to hobble over here. See, I could go all the way over here like Polaris, compared to that umbrella that I'm using to tell this crazy story. Be way over here. Way over here. Look. Way over there. Way over there is the aquarium. See? Oh, that's way too close to Al Trucker. I think I saw his nose hairs. But you can't tell where they begin. His mustache and goatee. And his eyebrow hairs look that long. You got no hair on top. You know, I could have saved a lot of money on that white ball by just drawing a few things and sticking some thumbtacks into my head. So being on a satellite above Earth's surface, you look down at Earth and see that same person drawing that circle with their finger on the window. I think in Austin's world, it could be a firmament. It's definitely etherically displaced. But also what's etherically displaced is Austin's understanding of celestial rotation. And so that was one of the things that inspired me to make this video, but I also thought it's a hard thing to think about. It's a hard thing to visualize. So that's why I made this, right? It shows you what's happening, right? We can see the sun. Yeah, so after the world's right, the sky rotates in the opposite direction, but the celestial sphere does not rotate. This is important. And it's moving. There are things that move around, But the apparent rotation is coming from something important. I'll tell you what it is. It's the actual rotation of our sphere Earth, the globe. And so when you look to the south, you don't see the Southern Cross. The Southern Cross is occluded by the shape of the globe and how far away you are from the equator. And I made my purple and turquoise guys kind of mostly midway down, those big thumbtacks. And hello, everybody. Just finished editing together a video. I'm going to add this little piece to it here. So, at the beginning of the video, I show the white ball that represents our Earth. It has a north and a south pole. I show how it rotates so that with the north of the globe is facing the Polaris star, and the south is facing the Southern Cross. As it rotates on its axis, the celestial sphere will rotate, and the way it will rotate will depend on which hemisphere you're in, northern or southern, around the celestial pole in each location. That is not something that you can change by just turning yourself 180 degrees, which is what I think Effed Up World was trying to say. If you turn yourself 180 degrees, you can see that the Earth never stops rotating in the same direction. The Earth always rotates so that the sun rises in the east. And if we think of the sunlight coming across and creating a line on the Earth, no matter how much of the axial tilt is putting the northern or the southern hemisphere towards the sun, which is the cause of the seasons, not the distance from the sun. It's how much sun hits the Earth, because we get most of our heat from radiating heat from the sun. Anyway, to try to bring this to a close, I hope that everyone has either re-solidified in their heads what they already thought they knew. And if you misunderstood this previously, I hope that you understand it now. And I hope that it's understood that taking a minute and looking at something visually, if you can't imagine it all in your head, can be really helpful. And I always found it helpful in translating physical thoughts in my head to a physical thing in the real world. Went really well when I had some sort of way of describing it. And in this case, I thought a big white ball might help. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I hope that you've learned something from the junk drawer today.